The mysterious arrival. The large, gleaming spaceship descended from the sky, its metal surface reflecting the sunlight of Earth's alien world. Inside, a group of young alien students sat quietly, their eyes wide with both excitement and nervousness. They had traveled from distant planets, each with a culture and environment far different from Earth. But all of them had heard stories. Earth was known throughout the galaxy as a Deathworld, a planet so dangerous that even the most advanced civilizations avoided it. And yet, here they were, coming to study it. As the ship touched down with a soft thud, the alien students slowly unstrapped themselves from their seats. Their names were Tylo, Tora, Zen, and Arla. Each of them came from different worlds, but they all shared the same mission: to learn about Earth, a planet surrounded by mystery and fear. Tylo, the most curious of the group, was the first to speak. "This is it, Earth. I've heard the legends, but I can't believe we're actually here." Tora, ever the skeptic, raised an eyebrow. "Legends? You mean the stories about Earth being a place where life itself tries to kill you? I don't believe it." The others fell silent. They had all heard about Earth's reputation, but none of them truly understood what it meant. From the terrifying wildlife to the harsh landscapes, Earth was known to be a planet of survival. It was a world where every living creature fought for its life, and where even the environment seemed to want to kill you. The spaceship door opened with a loud hiss, and the students stepped out onto the surface of Earth. The air was thick, warm, and smelled different from any planet they had been to before. There was an unfamiliar heaviness to it, as though the planet itself was holding its breath, waiting to see if they could survive. Their guide, a human who had volunteered to show them around, stood waiting by the landing pad. His name was Captain Jax, and he had spent most of his life on Earth. He looked at the students with a knowing smile. "Welcome to Earth, visitors. I hope you're ready for what's to come," Captain Jax said, his voice calm but filled with authority. The alien students exchanged nervous glances. They had been briefed on the dangers of Earth, but nothing could truly prepare them for what they were about to experience. Captain Jax led them toward a nearby forest. The trees were tall and twisted, their leaves rustling in the breeze. Birds with strange, colorful feathers flew overhead, their calls echoing in the air. The students marveled at the beauty of the planet. Everything seemed so alive, so vibrant. "Stay close," Captain Jax warned. "This is where things get interesting. Earth isn't just dangerous because of its creatures. The land itself can be deadly." Tora scoffed. "I'm sure we'll be fine. I mean, how dangerous can a forest really be?" Tylo smiled at her, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "I think it's best not to underestimate anything on this planet." As they walked deeper into the forest, the atmosphere began to change. The air grew thicker, more humid, and the sounds of wildlife grew louder. Strange animals could be heard moving through the underbrush, their movements quick and unpredictable. The alien students couldn't help but feel uneasy, as if they were being watched by unseen eyes. Captain Jax led them to a clearing, where a strange creature stood. It was a massive beast, with scales that shimmered in the sunlight and eyes that glowed like fiery embers. Its teeth were sharp, its claws long and curved. It was a predator, and it looked hungry. "This," Captain Jax said, "is a Deathfang, a predator that can outrun most creatures on Earth. It uses its claws to catch prey, and its speed makes it nearly impossible to escape." The alien students froze in place, their eyes wide with shock. They had heard of predators before, but nothing could have prepared them for this. "We'll be fine, right?" Zen asked, his voice shaky. Captain Jax smiled, but there was no humor in it. "The key to surviving on Earth is simple. Don't run, don't panic, and don't ever think you can outsmart everything here. Earth's creatures have had millions of years to adapt. You, on the other hand, are newcomers." As the group stood there, frozen in awe, the Deathfang took a step toward them, its gaze locked onto the students. The tension was thick, and for the first time, The alien students felt a deep, gut-wrenching fear. Xilo's heart raced, but he didn't move. He watched the creature carefully, his instincts screaming for him to flee. But Captain Jax remained calm, standing still as if the situation were normal. After what seemed like an eternity, the Death Fang finally turned and slunk back into the trees, vanishing without a sound. The students exhaled in relief, but the experience had shaken them. They had just come face to face with a creature that was built to kill, and they had no idea how to survive in this world. "Earth isn't like any place you've ever been," Captain Jack said, his voice serious. "It's not just dangerous because of what lives here. It's dangerous because life itself is tough, and it never stops fighting." The students looked at each other, the reality of their situation settling in. Earth was not a peaceful paradise. It was a world of survival, where every step could be their last. And this was only the beginning, the first challenge. The alien students, still shaken by their close encounter with the Death Fang, followed Captain Jax deeper into the forest. Every step felt heavier now, as if the trees themselves were watching them, waiting for them to make a mistake. The air was thick with tension, and the usual sounds of wildlife had disappeared, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to press in from all sides. "Stay alert," Captain Jack said, his voice low and serious. "The Death Fang isn't the only thing you'll need to worry about." The students exchanged nervous glances, each of them wondering what else could possibly be out there. The forest was vast and full of hidden dangers, and they were just beginning to realize how little they understood about Earth's natural world. Xylo, always the curious one, couldn't hold back his questions. "What other kinds of creatures live here?" he asked, trying to sound calm, but his voice betrayed his anxiety. Captain Jax looked over his shoulder, his face serious. "Earth is home to millions of species, many of which are dangerous to outsiders. You're about to experience one of them." The group continued their journey, but every rustle in the bushes, every snap of a twig underfoot, made their hearts race. The trees grew denser as they moved forward, the sunlight barely filtering through the thick canopy above. The air felt heavy with anticipation. Suddenly, without warning, there was a loud crack, and something large and fast barreled out of the underbrush. The alien students froze in place, their eyes wide with fear. Before they could react, a massive creature leaped into the clearing, its eyes glowing with hunger. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. Its body was covered in thick, spiked armor, and its claws were razor-sharp. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of teeth that could tear through metal with ease. The creature let out a deafening roar that sent a chill down their spines. "Stay calm," Captain Jax ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Don't run. Don't move. Just trust me." The students stood still, their hearts racing in their chests as the creature circled them, sniffing the air. Its breath came in heavy, growling bursts, and the students could feel the heat from its body. They could smell the metallic scent of its saliva as it dripped from its teeth. Tora, the most skeptical of the group, tried to hide her fear, but even she couldn't suppress the tremor in her voice. "What is that thing?" she whispered. "That," Captain Jack said, "is a razorback, one of the most dangerous predators on Earth. It hunts in packs, and it's fast enough to catch almost anything that moves." The students stood as still as statues, trying to control their breathing. The razorback's glowing eyes locked onto them, its hunger evident. It was waiting for a sign of weakness, a single movement, a single breath that would tell it that one of them was afraid, one of them was a target. Xylo's heart pounded in his chest as he stood motionless. He could feel the weight of the razorback's gaze on him, and for a moment, he wondered if he would be the one to make a mistake. He had read about Earth's dangerous creatures, but nothing had prepared him for this. On his home planet, predators were slower, easier to avoid. But here, in this strange world, survival seemed to depend on patience, skill, and luck. Then, as if sensing the tension in the air, Captain Jax made a sudden move. He stepped forward, Slowly but deliberately, the Razorback's eyes shifted toward him. But Captain Jax did not flinch. He held his ground, his hands raised in a calming gesture. "Easy," Captain Jax said, his voice soft but commanding. "We're not here to fight. We're not your prey." The Razorback growled, its body tensing, but it didn't attack. It was unsure. The students could see the calculation in its eyes, the moment of hesitation that was so foreign to them. In that moment, the creature seemed to weigh its options. Captain Jax continued to step forward, slowly, his movements careful and controlled. And then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the Razorback backed away, retreating into the forest with a final furious growl. The tension in the air lifted as the creature disappeared into the shadows. The students exhaled in relief, their bodies shaking from the adrenaline rush. They had just survived their first real test on Earth, but they knew this was only the beginning. There were still countless dangers waiting for them, each more unpredictable than the last. "Well," Captain Jax said, breaking the silence, "that's how you survive a Razorback. Remember, Earth doesn't give second chances. You can't rely on the same tactics you use on your home planets. Here, it's about knowing when to stand still, when to move, and when to fight. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is just wait for the right moment." Tora shook her head, still trying to process what had just happened. "I don't think I'll ever look at Earth the same way again." Captain Jax smiled. "I think you're beginning to understand why this world is called a death world." The students stood in stunned silence, their minds racing with the reality of what they had just experienced. They had come to Earth to study it, to learn about its mysteries. But now they were beginning to understand that Earth wasn't just a place of beauty and wonder. It was a place where every day was a battle for survival. And for the first time, they truly understood why Earth was feared across the galaxy. The secret of Earth's survival. The alien students, still reeling from their close encounter with the Razorback, now walked in silence. The gravity of their situation had begun to settle on them. They had entered Earth's forests with a sense of curiosity, eager to understand this strange, dangerous planet, but now they knew just how serious the situation was. The planet was not only a death world in name, it was a world that could kill anyone who wasn't prepared. Captain Jax led them down a narrow path, his boots crunching on the dried leaves beneath him. He had seen Earth's dangers firsthand for years, and it was clear that this mission was far more than a simple exploration. Earth was a challenge unlike any other, one that had to be respected at every turn. "We've been on Earth for hours, and you've already encountered one of its most lethal creatures," Captain Jax said. "But that's just the beginning. The Razorback was easy compared to some of the other predators out there. Earth's entire ecosystem is designed to test its inhabitants. Only the strongest survive here." The students exchanged uneasy glances, the reality of their situation sinking deeper into their minds. Silo, the most curious of the group, felt the need to ask another question. "How is it possible for such a dangerous world to even survive?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Captain Jax gave him a knowing look. "Earth has an unusual way of balancing itself. Every creature, no matter how deadly, has a role to play. The predators, the prey, and even the plants. It's a system that has been evolving for millions of years, and it creates a constant struggle for survival. This struggle is what makes Earth so unique and so dangerous. But it's also what makes it one of the most resilient planets in the galaxy." The students couldn't fathom the idea that a world so hostile could survive on such a massive scale. Everywhere they looked, there was something new and dangerous, something that could end their lives in an instant. But there was also something else. Life. Earth's ecosystems had been built on struggle, on overcoming threats, and adapting to ever-changing conditions. As they walked deeper into the forest, they saw strange, bright flowers that bloomed like fire in the underbrush, but they didn't dare touch them. Captain Jax explained that many plants on Earth were poisonous, designed to keep predators away. "Everything on Earth fights to survive," he said. "The plants, the animals, even the environment itself. It's a world of constant adaptation. The students felt as though they were walking through a living nightmare, but Captain Jax didn't stop. "This is why Earth's creatures are so dangerous," he said. "It's not just their power, it's the way they adapt to threats, to survive, to evolve. They don't stop." As if on cue, the ground suddenly shook beneath their feet, and a loud crashing sound echoed through the forest. The alien students froze in fear, their hearts pounding in their chests. They looked around, searching for the source of the noise. Captain Jax held up his hand, signaling for everyone to stay quiet. He moved forward, scanning the area, his instincts kicking into high gear. His eyes narrowed as he spotted movement through the trees. Another predator. Was it a pack of razorbacks? The students huddled together, each holding their breath. The air grew thick with tension, and for a moment, no one dared make a sound. Then, through the thick foliage, they saw it, a massive creature, larger than any of them could have imagined, moving in their direction. It had the shape of a dinosaur, but was covered in a thick layer of scaly armor. Its claws clicked against the rocks as it moved, and its massive tail swept through the trees with terrifying force. It was a titanth, one of Earth's most legendary predators. Larger, faster, and stronger than any creature they had encountered before, the titanth was the epitome of what Earth could create in its harsh, survival-driven environment. "Stay calm," Captain Jax said. "It's not here for us." The students stood frozen, eyes wide with disbelief, as the titanth lumbered past them. Its eyes didn't even glance at the group. It was focused on something else, perhaps another predator or a rival. Silo couldn't hold back any longer. "How can a creature like that even exist?" he gasped. Captain Jax smiled grimly. "Earth's creatures evolved to fit the environment. The titanth is a living weapon. Its armor protects it from almost everything. Its size and strength allow it to dominate its territory. But remember, survival here is about balance. No creature is invincible. Even the titanth has its enemies." The students were still in awe, their minds racing with the enormity of what they had just witnessed. They had come to Earth expecting to learn about a simple, albeit dangerous, planet. But they were beginning to understand that Earth wasn't just another planet. It was a living, breathing battlefield where only the strongest and most adaptable survived. As they continued their journey, the students began to realize that Earth wasn't just a world of survival. It was a world of constant conflict and evolution, a place where every day was a struggle to stay alive. And if they hoped to survive their mission, they would need to learn the rules of this ruthless, unpredictable world. And fast. Captain Jax's words echoed in their minds as they moved deeper into the heart of Earth's wilderness. On Earth, there is no easy survival. Only the toughest can endure. The hidden truths of Earth. As the group continued deeper into the dense forest, the alien students couldn't shake the sense of unease that had settled in their stomachs. Captain Jax had warned them that Earth was unlike any planet they had ever encountered, but the reality of it was far more terrifying than they had imagined. Every step felt like a test, one that they were barely passing. The forest was eerily quiet now, save for the distant calls of unknown creatures echoing through the trees. The students followed Captain Jax as he led them through a tangled maze of vines and rocks. The air was thick with humidity, and the ground beneath them felt unstable, as though it could give way at any moment. "The harshest part about Earth is that you never know what's around the corner," Captain Jax said, his voice low. "The planet's dangers are always changing. It adapts, it evolves, and with it, its threats. There's no place here where you can truly feel safe." The students exchanged uneasy glances. Silo had already realized that Earth wasn't just a dangerous world. It was a living, breathing entity in itself, constantly shifting and evolving in unpredictable ways. One moment, they were dodging the deadly razorback. The next, they were facing down the terrifying titanth. It seemed that no matter where they went, they were always one step behind the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Captain Jax's voice broke through their thoughts. We're heading to the outpost now. It's a safe place where we can regroup and prepare for what's coming next. But you have to understand, Earth's threats don't stop. They only get more dangerous as you move further into the planet. The students weren't sure if they were ready for whatever would come next. The deeper they traveled into Earth's wilderness, the more it became clear. Survival here wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about understanding the land, adapting to its rhythms, and knowing how to outsmart its dangers. As they walked, Captain Jax began to explain some of the stranger, hidden truths about Earth. This planet has survived because of its relentless cycle of destruction and rebirth. Every species here has evolved to survive by fighting, whether that's through brute force, cunning, or sheer willpower. The natural world here is constantly reshaping itself, and that's why Earth is called a death world. But why? Tylo asked, his voice tinged with both fear and fascination. Why does Earth have to be like this? Captain Jax paused, looking back at the group. Earth's history is full of chaos. Millions of years ago, the planet was much more dangerous. Entire species would rise and fall in a matter of centuries. But as Earth evolved, so did its inhabitants. They had to adapt to survive, to outwit or overpower the dangers that came before them. And over time, that led to a balance, the balance of life and death. Everything here is connected. A chill ran down the students' spines. They had heard about the horrors of Earth's history, of species that had once ruled the planet and been wiped out in an instant. But hearing it from Captain Jax made the terrifying reality feel much closer. What happens if we don't adapt? Vora, one of the quieter students, asked softly. Then you become part of the food chain, Captain Jax replied bluntly. It's as simple as that. The silence that followed was heavy. The students understood now, perhaps for the first time, just how dangerous Earth really was. It wasn't just the creatures or the hostile environments. It was the constant fight for survival. Every species, including their own, had to adjust constantly or risk being wiped out. They finally reached the outpost, a makeshift shelter built into the side of a mountain. It was designed to withstand the planet's natural forces, built with materials that could resist Earth's most extreme weather conditions. The students were grateful to finally have a moment of respite. But even as they settled inside, the harsh reality of Earth's dangers still loomed in the back of their minds. Captain Jax motioned for everyone to sit. You'll need to understand this fully, he said, his voice serious. The creatures of Earth aren't just dangerous. They're part of the reason this planet is still here. It's not just a death world because of its creatures, but because of how its life forms have adapted over time. They are survivors, and you have to be the same if you want to survive here. The students were quiet, reflecting on his words. Earth was more than just a planet of monstrous predators and hostile environments. It was a place where only the fittest could survive, where every life form had to be on the lookout for what could destroy it. Captain, Xylo asked, his curiosity finally getting the better of him, is there any hope for Earth's future? Will it always be this way? Jax's eyes softened slightly. It's hard to say. Earth has always been this way, survival of the fittest. But that doesn't mean it's hopeless. Life here may be violent and unpredictable, but it's also a place of incredible resilience. Earth's history is full of rebirth, of life fighting to continue against all odds. The students didn't know what to say. It was clear that Earth had a strange, almost mystical quality to it, a planet that had somehow survived the tests of time by evolving, adapting, and fighting against extinction. It was a world unlike any other they had encountered in their studies, and it had more mysteries than they had ever imagined. As they sat in the shelter, they began to understand that Earth wasn't just a death world. It was a living testament to the power of life itself, and the lesson it had to teach was one that would stay with them forever: the fight for survival. The dense jungle around the group crackled with energy, the air thick with the scent of Earth and danger. The alien students stood in stunned silence, their hearts racing, their bodies tensed in anticipation. They had been trained for battles on other worlds, faced dangers from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, but nothing could have prepared them for Earth. Nothing could have prepared them for the relentless will of humanity. Ahead of them, the massive creature emerged from the shadows. Its body was covered in thick, matted fur, its claws glistening with deadly intent. It was a predator, born from the most brutal of Earth's ecosystems, a Deathworld creature, made to kill, survive, and thrive in the harshest environments. The students froze, their alien instincts telling them to run. But Captain Jax didn't move. His eyes locked onto the creature, a cold fire burning in them. His hand rested on the weapon at his side, but he didn't draw it immediately. The creature was big, far larger than any they had faced on their home planets, but Jax knew something the students didn't yet understand. "We don't run," Jax said, his voice low, steady, and filled with the authority of someone who had fought and survived on this deadly planet. "We face it head-on. This is how humans survive. We don't back down. Ever." The students exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what to do. They were soldiers, yes, but not like this. Not on Earth. Not in a fight that seemed so stacked against them. But Jax's calm demeanor was enough to steady their nerves, at least for the moment. The creature let out a growl, a deep, rumbling sound that shook the ground beneath their feet. Its eyes were wild, glowing with an intelligence that made the students uneasy. It wasn't just a mindless beast, it was hunting, and they were its prey. But then something happened that none of the alien students had expected. One of the human soldiers, a young man no older than the students, stepped forward. He wasn't the strongest, nor the fastest, but his eyes were filled with something the alien students didn't recognize: determination. He didn't hesitate. Without a word, he raised his weapon and fired. The blast hit the creature squarely in the chest, sending it stumbling back. It wasn't enough to kill it, but it was enough to slow it down. The creature roared in pain, a sound that echoed through the jungle. The students were stunned. The sheer audacity of the human was both shocking and inspiring. Jax smirked. "That's what you need to understand. Humans fight like this. No matter how strong, no matter how dangerous the enemy, they will always push forward. They never wait for the odds to favor them. They create their own luck." The students watched in awe as the human soldier reloaded and fired again. The creature charged, its massive jaws snapping, but the human dodged just in time, using the terrain to his advantage. The students could see the strategy now. This wasn't just brute force. This was a calculated fight for survival. The creature lunged again, but this time, the human soldier was ready. He ducked under the creature's claws, rolled to the side, and aimed a shot at its exposed flank. The creature staggered, roaring in agony, and the human soldier took advantage of the opening. With a final precise shot, the creature fell to the ground, twitching in its death throes. The students stood in stunned silence, their mouths slightly open. They had never seen anything like it. They had fought battles, won wars, but they had never seen a species so relentlessly determined to fight back against the odds. This was something different. Jax turned to them, his eyes now filled with a quiet pride. "You see it now, don't you? This is what makes humans unstoppable. It's not just about the weapons they wield or the strength of their bodies. It's about the will to never give up, to face a threat head-on, and refuse to back down. This is the heart of Earth." The students nodded slowly, each of them processing the gravity of what they had just witnessed. They had seen strength before, on their home worlds, in the face of impossible odds. But nothing compared to this. Nothing had prepared them for the sheer force of will that a human could wield. "Humans don't need the strongest weapons," Jax continued. "They just need the courage to fight, and that's something they never lack." The students stood in silence, still trying to wrap their minds around the lesson they had just learned. The creature lay dead before them, a testament to the human soldier's strength and determination. But the real lesson wasn't in the battle. It was in the attitude, the spirit, the never-ending drive to survive and conquer. The students had learned that Earth wasn't just a death world because of its creatures or its environment. It was a death world because of its people, the humans. They were not just survivors, they were warriors in the truest sense of the word. And as they stood there, gazing at the fallen creature, the alien students understood. The true power of Earth was not in its danger or its threats. It was in the humans themselves. And now, they would learn to face Earth's greatest challenge, the humans' indomitable spirit. The battle for survival wasn't over. It had only just begun. The ultimate test. The alien students huddled around the small fire inside the outpost, their eyes still wide with disbelief from what they had learned about Earth. Captain Jax's words echoed in their minds. Only the fittest survive. They were surrounded by an alien world, one that seemed to reject everything they thought they knew about survival. The planet itself was a constant battle, and as much as they tried to comprehend it, Earth's harsh nature was almost too overwhelming to process. But it was in this intensity that they also saw something else, something they had never expected: humanity. Captain Jax sat across from them, his gaze steady and calm. "I've seen the way you look at Earth, the terror, the uncertainty. But you've also seen something else, something that sets humans apart from every other species on this planet." His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Humans don't just survive. They thrive. They adapt, they fight. And when all hope seems lost, they find a way." Silo shifted uncomfortably. But how do they do it? Why don't they just give up like every other species that's been here? Captain Jax smiled grimly, eyes glinting with a mix of respect and amazement. Because humans don't know when to quit. When faced with impossible odds, they don't retreat. They double down. They push past fear. They learn from their mistakes. And most importantly, they stand united. But that can't be enough. Vora interjected, looking around at her classmates. "It's not just their strength we've seen. It's their ability to destroy, to completely wipe out entire species. That's not just fighting for survival. It's a constant war." Captain Jax nodded slowly. "You've seen the violence, the killing, the monsters. But what you haven't seen yet is why it happens. Humans are not just warriors. They have something that no other species on Earth has: the will to keep going. They see their world falling apart. They witness the worst of it. And they respond by pushing back harder than anyone ever thought possible." "But surely," Tylo started, his mind racing. "Surely there has to be a balance. There can't be all destruction." "Not always," Jax said, shaking his head. "But there are moments when Earth is on the edge, when the survival of a species isn't guaranteed, and that's when humans come in. In the face of extinction, they have this ability to adapt beyond reason. They don't just conquer, they evolve." The students sat in stunned silence, the weight of Jax's words sinking in. They thought they had come to Earth to understand its dangers. But what they had discovered so far had been nothing short of a revelation. The planet didn't just produce dangerous creatures and environments. It had bred humanity to be its unrelenting force of survival. And now, in the face of the galaxy's most dangerous world, they had learned the truth. Earth was a death world, but the humans living there were unstoppable. "All right," Jax continued, standing up and gazing out at the night sky. "Tomorrow, we move out. You've seen what Earth has to offer. Now you'll see how humans deal with it. You're about to be tested, more than you ever have been before." The students exchanged nervous glances, but there was something else in their eyes now, an understanding. Whatever they thought they knew about Earth, they were wrong. This was no ordinary world. Earth was something else entirely. It wasn't just a death world. It was a proving ground. Captain Jax motioned to them. "We're heading to the heart of Earth's wilderness. Only then will you truly understand what makes humanity so unstoppable." The alien students braced themselves. They were about to face a challenge they could never have imagined. And they knew it wasn't just Earth's predators that they had to worry about. It was the humans themselves. As they walked toward their next destination, Silo felt a strange mixture of fear and admiration. These humans had survived, adapted, and thrived in the most extreme conditions. Could the students do the same? Could they become like the humans, no longer just outsiders, but part of this strange, death-defying world? There was only one way to find out. The silence in the air grew heavy as the alien students prepared for the ultimate test. They were about to discover whether they could survive Earth, not just as tourists or researchers, but as warriors in a world that didn't care who they were. They would have to be more than just students of Earth. They would have to become a part of its brutal story, or they wouldn't survive. And with that realization, their journey into Earth's heart began, the final revelation. The alien students walked in silence, their steps heavy as they ventured deeper into Earth's wilderness. The dense jungle around them was teeming with life, but it wasn't the creatures they feared, it was the planet itself. Earth was alive with danger, from towering predators to the very soil beneath their feet that seemed to shift and twist with the power to claim them. As they moved, the students kept their eyes wide, scanning every movement, every sound. They had heard the stories of Earth's dangers, how it could break even the toughest, most seasoned explorers, but nothing could have prepared them for the truth of what Earth truly represented, a world that didn't just demand survival, but demanded you evolve or perish. Captain Jax led the way, his expression unreadable. His past had shaped him into a leader of Earth's hardest warriors, but even he seemed tense, the weight of Earth's brutality weighing down on his shoulders. They had reached the heart of the jungle, a place where the dangers were no longer theoretical. They were real, and they were waiting. Listen closely. Jax's voice cut through the tension, his eyes narrowing. This is Earth's final lesson. The moment you think you understand it, it'll throw something worse at you. But that's why humans are so dangerous. They never stop. When they're faced with something impossible, they find a way to overcome it. Xylo, one of the bravest of the students, glanced over at his fellow classmates. They all had different expressions. Some were fearful, others were fascinated, and a few were starting to understand. But the one thing they all shared now was a deep sense of awe for this planet that had shaped a species like no other. What happens next? Vora whispered, her voice barely audible over the sounds of the jungle. Jax didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stopped and turned to face them all. The air around them was thick with humidity, the distant call of Earth's wildlife echoing through the trees. Next, Jax said, his tone grave, you face Earth's greatest challenge. You face humanity itself. The students exchanged confused glances. Humanity. How could the humans themselves be a challenge? Jax's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. You've seen their weapons, their ingenuity, and their ability to destroy. But you haven't seen the true strength of a human. Their real power isn't in their weapons or technology. It's in their heart. It's in their will to survive. When humans are pushed to their limit, they don't give up. They rise. They fight. And they fight dirty. The students exchanged uneasy glances, the realization dawning on them. The challenge ahead wasn't just about surviving the creatures of this planet. It was about surviving humanity's unstoppable will to live. The humans had learned how to face the worst Earth could throw at them. And not only survive, but thrive in the face of it. Humans don't just overcome challenges. Jax continued, looking at each of them, his voice steady. They break the rules of survival. When Earth says no, when every law of nature is stacked against them, they say yes. They adapt. They innovate. And then, they strike back. Silo felt a chill run through him. The humans were more than just survivors. They were conquerors. And now, the students would have to learn this truth firsthand. We're almost there, Jax said, his voice low. But you need to understand this. No matter what you face here, no matter how deadly, the humans will always be one step ahead. Not because they're stronger, but because they will never stop trying. They will fight to the last breath. The alien students braced themselves, unsure of what awaited them in the depths of Earth's wilderness. They had witnessed Earth's horrors, its unrelenting creatures, and its environment that seemed to fight back at every turn. But what they had yet to see was humanity's true power, their ability to take on any challenge, no matter the cost. Suddenly, the trees ahead rustled violently. A low growl echoed from the shadows, and the students tensed. Captain Jack stepped forward, motioning for them to stay back. "Get ready. The test is about to begin." The students' hearts pounded as a massive figure emerged from the trees. It was a creature unlike anything they had seen before, its eyes glowing with an almost intelligent malice. But it wasn't the creature they had to fear. It was the humans who would come next, the ones who had long mastered the art of turning the impossible into their advantage. In that moment, Silo understood. This was not just a test of survival. This was a test of will. And in the end, that was what made humans the most dangerous species on Earth. No matter what, no matter how impossible, they would never give up. And the students would learn that lesson, whether they wanted to or not. The battle for survival had begun. And there was only one rule on Earth: adapt or die. As the alien students watched Captain Jax and the human soldiers readying their weapons, the weight of Earth's brutal truth settled in. They weren't just learning about a deadly planet. They were about to witness firsthand what it meant to be part of a species that would stop at nothing to survive.